when we talk about leader, so the first thing people usually they would start to think is about the power, right? I don't say it's wrong. The foundation of leadership is the power, right? The managerial position is, authorized or entitled by the company, by the organization. And then you started to show your leaderships. Probably you have your leadership skill with you. You have the talent of leading, but you don't get the chance to expose, right? To show your leadership capacity or leadership competency. So that's why usually we start with the power. We start with the power and then you get the chance to show your leadership. Don't get me wrong. Don't need to be a manager, having this leadership style, but usually apply or when you implement your leadership skill, once you become a manager, you are the manager. You should show your leadership, but not your employee. Get my point? I mean, when we talk about power, there are different types of power. The first three, legitimate, reward, the cohesive power, related to the managerial roles, right? So once you become the manager, you have this authority, you have this power to grant or withhold the rewards. Cohesive, force people, right, to do this. The next couple, those powers are more important, in my opinion. The first is we call this expert, right? The power, expert power, referent power. You know how. You have the knowledge, you have the skill, you have the experience, you have the expertise, and then you become the manager. You show your leadership. You know everything that they will listen to you, right? So you have this expertise, they listen to you, and then you automatically become a leader in that, in that area, right? In that field. To be a more effective or better leader, yes, you need this referent power. It is about your characteristics. It's about your personality. It's about your appearance. It's about your charisma. I have to say my first boss, because it was my first job, right? My first boss, he was the store manager. We tried to imitate and how he dressed, how he talked. If you have someone that you really admire, right? Like as a leader, you would try to learn. You try to, imitate. Thinking about Steve Jobs, how he dressed. You realize many Chinese entrepreneurs, big companies, big business guys, they try to wear exactly the same jeans, exactly the same T-shirt. Okay, treat this as the leader's charisma, and then we try to. If we want to be a leader, we should look the same. We should dress the same, talk the same way. Right? My understanding, a good manager, a good leader. It's combined, right? You should have all those powers. Powers come with the position. Later on, you will have your power, right? Specific power, expert, particularly in our agribusiness sector. We are more promoted from low level to high level. Numerous ways to use the power. You have this legitimate power. You can execute your power. You can also use this so-called reward power. We call this instrumental compliance. So you doing a good job. I give you a raise. I will give you a good performance appraisal results. So cohesive force people. So if you don't do that, rational persuasion, the step before the cohesive. Personal identification and inspiration appears. See, this is more regarding the referent power. Use your referent power. Talk like a leader, behave like a leader, and then they want to follow you, and then they talk directly. They look into your eyes. I should have a video talk about the body language. The body language clearly differentiates leader and then the low level, the limitations. In a good way, all right, you will just get your job done. But the economists, we talk about marginal effects. You will know the marginal effect is diminution. You use your reward power. Every time you say, I give you $1,000 raise. So thinking about it the first time, it's great, right? You earn 10,000 a month, so 1,000, it's okay. So no big deal, right? So the marginal effects, the marginal utility decreasing dramatically. If you use this cohesive, you force the employee, maybe the first time they will take it seriously. But thinking about after 10 times, 100 times, you don't use this, coercive power very frequently, very often. Why no effects? There will be no effects. I don't care. Go ahead. We try to influence our group members, right? There will be different reactions or different responses, but also it depends on the time, right? So initially, it can be commitment, compliance, more likely. Thinking about this marginal effects, there will be more resistance, right? This is the challenge for us as the manager or as the leader. If you are a good leader, this will go to a very positive way. But if you are not good leader, you don't learn or you don't improve. So it will get worse and worse. Believe it or not, you can be a good manager, but doesn't mean you can be a good leader. Both are good. It will be great. But if you do your job, you become a good manager. But try to develop yourself by learning, by practicing. Leader is also skill set. All right, you can learn from that. But you are not always correct. You learn something, and then you need to be flexible, situational. So talk about the leadership, series regarding leadership. Early approach, we talk about the trait approach. We think like a leader they will have certain traits, but this is more about the personality. I agree with that, but not necessarily, all right? Not 100% true. Later on, the research has somehow showed the leadership trait approach is ineffective to predict the good leader or not so good leader. We have a list of characteristics to show you how the good leader look like. We have a set of stable and enduring leadership traits or characteristics that set them apart from follower or from non-leaders. Common traits such as intelligence, height, self-confidence, attractiveness, vocabulary. You have a list of characteristics, but you also have a long list of exceptions. Again, don't get me wrong. So I would say this is a leader. They have certain characteristics. So good leaders, they have certain characteristics. We have to agree with that. They are more open, they have the confidence, self-confidence, right? They're smart, right? They're very talkative, they can influence people, they can motivate people. There are many characteristics. But later on, we started to develop other leadership series, from the characteristics to the behavior. This is the behavioral approach, defines behavior, the leadership behaviors. We started the important topic when we talk about the leadership behavior. Quickly, we will go through this so-called Michigan State leadership study, Ohio State leadership study. The major difference is a Michigan study, right? Leadership study. They separate, this leadership behavior into two different directions. One is we call it the job-oriented, task-oriented. The other is employee-oriented or people-oriented leadership. A leader will choose one of these two, either job-oriented or employee-oriented. The job-centered means, right, you are more focusing on the process, monitoring, control the performance, right? Employee-centered or oriented behavior focus on the building the sense of team spirit through human elements. And then this is more about the team building, about the motivation, right? So this is the more focus on the humans element. So Ohio State, they develop their leadership, behavior or leadership style. Actually, this is the two dimensions are very similar. The one is, also they call it the initiating structure behavior. But actually, this is very similar to the job-oriented or job-centered, right? The initial structure, what the position for. Other is the consideration behavior. Consider who? Consider what? Consider people, right? This is the people-oriented dimension. The main difference from this Michigan study is we can hold the different styles, different behavior at the same time, all right? You can be a good leader. You care about the job, and then also you care about the people, all right? You care about the employee. I more prefer this one. The worst scenario is you have low initiating structure behavior or job-centered behavior, and then you have low employee-centered behavior. I mean, also you have like not so many years working experience or no experience, but you think about, a leader, think about like a leadership role. Who is care about people and who is care about the job at the same time? Who is low, right? Low, on both behaviors, right? They don't care about people. They don't care about employee. They don't care about the job. Once you find those examples, you just put them into different quadrants. You will have better understanding, right? The more important view is combining these two leadership studies, and then we have so-called this contemporary leadership view. And actually, I would say this is more similar to this to the Ohio State. From the top two quadrants, it's about the job-oriented. The below two quadrants, they are more about the employee-oriented. I think it's more straightforward to use job-oriented and then this employee-oriented, seeking information. Okay, so this is the behavior, right? So they are more care about the process. They will make the decisions, making decisions when organizing, when planning, when delegation, when controlling, problem solving. But when we talk about influencing people, right? So this is motivation, influencing, rewarding. And then the last one is building the relationship. Building a relationship, team building, right? So this is for the team. Individual, lead the individual or lead the team. Okay. And then the job oriented or the process oriented, it's more about the monitoring, controlling phase, or it's about the decision making phase.